Hi there, good night. This is Attorney Tharpe at SC Law Office, and I'm on for the second time today. I'm closing out with you as usual. So, if you see me going live, go ahead and put your questions in the comments now, and I will go ahead and answer your immigration related questions. So, I usually come with a topic to talk about myself. And today earlier today in the live, I talked about applying for the green card based on mistreatment by a U.S. citizen or green card holder spouse. If you're under 25, then U.S. citizen and green card holder parent. Or hi there, the Browers. It's nice to see you. Or a citizen son or daughter who's 21 and up. So there is a way to apply for the green card on your own based on mistreatment by these relatives. So I want to go over it because it can be a solution and a form of relief to you if you're going through this situation. And sometimes there are some misconceptions that go along with this type of green card, and I want to clear that up for you. But let me let you know first, before I delve into this topic, your questions are my priority. So as soon as I see your questions come in, I am going to prioritize answering your questions. But until those questions come in, I'm going to talk about the topic at hand. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I am U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe, and I work at ST Law Office. The focus of my practice is to help immigrants, whether you're here with your different status or you're here without legal status. My focus is to help immigrants to get a green card and be able to work through the work permit in the United States. So if this is something that you're going through or you're thinking about going through or a loved one is going through, then tune in and ask your questions. And it could be any immigration related question, not necessarily related to what I'll be talking about. So with that, let's get started. So applying for the green card based on mistreatment. Okay, so we have a question. So it's been 4 months. I applied for my status change through my marriage-based green card, but nothing. So that is not exactly something that's unusual right now. I'm sorry that you have to be going through this severe delay. But that has happened with other people because of the backlog. What I suggest that you do right now is to give them a call and make sure, see if they've received it. Also, if you paid your application fee via your bank account, you could check to see if they drew on your bank account. Now, if you already know that they accepted your application and now you're waiting on the next step, you're waiting on the receipt notice, or you're waiting for the biometrics appointment, then what I would suggest you do is give them a call. You can get the phone number for the customer service line at uscis.gov. Give them a call. Make sure you have your information in front of you. If you have a receipt number, make sure you have that, your address, your name, your date of birth, and then find out if they are currently processing it, and just make sure that there's nothing on your end that you have to do to keep the process going. But I can tell you this, that it's not unusual for the correspondence to take longer than usual because of the backlog, because COVID, and it was already backlogged before. So hang tight and just check on your case to make sure that there are no loose ends on your end. So great question. Keep those questions coming. I am talking about how to obtain the green card if you're in a sticky situation. You're in as a matter of fact, more serious than sticky. You're in a bad nightmare situation with, you're being mistreated by a U.S. citizen spouse or a green card holder spouse. If you're under 25, you're being mistreated by a U.S. citizen or a green card holder parent. And if you're the parent of a U.S. citizen and that your son or daughter is 21 and up and they're mistreating you, then I definitely recommend that you consider applying for relief based on through this green card process. Now, when I talk about mistreatment, I think it's very important. Hi there, Snatch Queen 2. It's nice to see you. Thanks for tuning in. So it's very important for me to help you to understand what mistreatment means. So when I say mistreatment, I mean that you are experiencing some sort of abusive situation by the relative that I listed. Now, abuse comes in many different forms, and there's a misconception that to qualify for this type of green card, you have to show a police report, you have to show that your spouse or your parent or your son or daughter hit you or was in some way physically violent, and that is not the case. There could be emotional abuse. There could be verbal abuse. So if there's name calling, if there are actions against you that aren't necessarily physically harmful, but it is emotionally harmful to you, it's mentally breaking you down, then this can qualify for as the type of abuse that you need to get this green card. What I suggest is if this is at all familiar to you, the first step you need to do is get a consultation and get help to get this done. And it could be an answer to your dilemma if this same person is refusing to apply for you, which often happens. So for example, if they're using your status against you, that can qualify as well. So if they're threatening to get you deported, if they're threatening to call ICE on you, if they're blackmailing you and saying they won't apply for the green card for you, if they're just stalling on the green card, and no matter what you do, they will not help you to get that green card, this could be a type of abuse that's going on, and so you definitely would need further assistance. Snatch Queen 2. My son was born in the US, but husband is Bahamian and I am Trinidadian. At the moment, we live in the Bahamas. So if your son is 21 and up, then he would be able to apply for you and your husband as the mother and his mother and father. However, if he's under 21, you would not necessarily qualify for a U.S. status just based on having a U.S. citizen child. So how can we apply to live in the U.S.? I want my son to actually go to school there. He's 6. So yes, you would not be able to automatically get a path to a green card or any other type of status in the U.S. just based on your son's citizenship. You would have to do it through other means. So, and those other means really depends on what you qualify for, what you're qualified to apply for in the United States. But unfortunately, just having the relationship with your 6-year-old son would not qualify you for status. So Shauna Banana, if you need to start an adjustment of status application, where or how do you start? So the first thing I would suggest to you, Shauna, is to get legal advice. That you're going to hear me say that very often. And that is first to make sure that you qualify for adjustment of status. Because some individuals do have the misconception that as long as they're in the U.S. and if they have a U.S. citizen relative or permanent resident relative who can apply for them, then they would qualify to apply for the green card in the US through the adjustment of status process. That's not necessarily true. So you would either have to maintain your legal status in the United States, meaning you maintain your visa. So if you're here on a visitor's visa, it's very unlikely that you're going to continue to maintain your legal status for the duration of the process, and you're going to need that. If you are out of status or you overstay, then you could qualify through your U.S. citizen spouse, your U.S. citizen parent if you're under 21 and unmarried, or your U.S. citizen son or daughter who's 21 and up. So it's very specific. Another way to qualify for the adjustment of status is to if you are in a situation that I was describing earlier, if you're being mistreated by a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident spouse, if you're being mistreated by a citizen son or daughter who's 21 and up, or if you're being mistreated, if you're under 25 and you're being mistreated by a U.S. citizen or a green card holder parent, then you could qualify to stay in the U.S. and apply for the green card by yourself. But other than that, the exceptions are very specific. So that's the first step, is to make sure you qualify and you're doing it right. Because if you do submit that adjustment of status application without confirming you qualify, it could be devastating. Now, there are specific forms that you have to file to be able to to start the adjustment of status application. However, I don't usually get into forms because I don't want anybody to go and pull forms and then end up filing incorrect forms, because I don't know everybody's facts. So what I suggest is you can give my office a call at 561-405-4889, schedule a consultation, and let's go over your qualifications and what is necessary for you to successfully get through the adjustment of status process if you qualify for it. Snatch Queen, you're welcome. And Snatch Queen 2, is there any program I can apply for, or I just would have to wait until he's 21? So now there are different options, or there are different visas available, to live and work in the United States. However, it all depends on what is best for you and what your circumstances are, and that's where a personal consultation would come in, because it's extremely broad. Now, so for example, what are your qualifications? Have you maintained any relationships with employers? Are you thinking about going to school yourself in the United States? And do you have the ability to enroll in a school here and get the student visa? If we're talking about other types of programs outside of a green card. It was very difficult to tell you about any kind of programs without knowing exactly what is going on, to be more specific. So if you would really like to explore your options, just give me a call and schedule a consultation. Hi there, Lisa Prasad. It's nice to see you again, and good night. So keep your questions coming. I'm here to answer your immigration questions. So go ahead and drop your questions. I'm talking about applying for the green card on your own in a situation where you're being mistreated by your U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident spouse. If you're under 20, spouse, and if you're under 25, it would be your legal permanent resident or your U.S. citizen parent, or if you are a parent yourself and you're being mistreated by your U.S. citizen son or daughter who's 21 and up. There's a way to apply for the green card, adjust status in the United States, get a work permit while you wait for the green card, and oftentimes you can get that work permit within 6 to 8 months. So it offers good relief if you qualify. And if this sounds familiar to you, I urge you to look further into it. This is an area I focus on, and so you should definitely schedule a consultation with me if you would really like to pursue that form of relief. Now, some other benefits of this form of relief is that it's completely confidential. Nobody will call your spouse or your parent or your son or daughter to give them notice that you're applying for this, because they call it the VAWA unit. The team of officers that review these types of applications are well aware of the dangers you may be in and the retaliatory action that may be taken against you if they share information with the person that's mistreating you. So it's completely confidential. And you get to stay here, so you don't have to leave the country to complete the green card process, even if you are out of status, even if you overstayed your visa, and even if you came into the country without your papers, as long as you can show that the mistreatment is somehow linked to your entry into the US without your papers. So good night, Maria, good night. My husband applied for naturalization, 11 months now, and still waiting for answers. So what I would say is, now it's difficult for me. I'm just assuming and giving you general information. Now there is a backlog, but at the same time, what your husband needs to do is, the first thing he needs to do is check with the USCIS to make sure that everything is going well with his case and they haven't issued any correspondence that he hasn't gotten. And if everything is still okay, it just may be a backlog, and unfortunately it would just be a matter of waiting to hear something, to get the final interview, or it depends on what stage your husband is in. But the first thing you should do is give them a call. Go to uscis.gov and pull up the customer service number. Give them a call. Have your case number, the receipt notice in front of you. Make sure you have your husband's date of birth. And your husband, if he's not represented by an attorney, will need to be the one that speaks on the phone with the officer. And then you can figure things out there. But I don't, other than that, I'm just assuming it may be because of the backlog. So great questions. Keep your questions coming. I'm here to answer your immigration questions. I have a topic that I'm talking about myself, which is applying for the green card on your own if you're experiencing mistreatment by certain qualifying relatives. And I've been talking about the perks of this type of form of relief that is put in place to protect your privacy and protect your safety in some cases. Now, one thing I want to clear up is that you're welcome, Maria. Another thing I want to clear up is that the physical violence is not required to qualify for this. So, for example, if you're with your spouse or your parent and they're doing things like, they may not even be calling you names, they may not be threatening you, but what they are doing is they're using your status against you. They'll say things like, well, if you don't do this, then I'm going to call ICE on you, or if you don't do this, I'm not going to file your green card application. That is not permissible, and that can be abuse as well. So keep that in mind, that if something is going on in your relationship with a spouse, a parent, or a son or daughter who's 21 and up, then my rule of thumb is get legal advice and see how you can gain control of your situation and get the status yourself. And empower yourself. So, right. So that is basically how to apply for the green card. Now, once you know you qualify, once you you are ready to apply, then what you would do is you're going to file a special form with the adjustment, in some cases, not all, but in some, with that adjustment of status application. And that gets sent to a special unit that is trained to make decisions on these types of cases. So along the way, you'll usually get what's called a prima facie letter. And that's basically a type of letter that says, well, based on the facts that they've reviewed on a preliminary basis, you look like you qualify. And it allows you to go on what's called a deferred action list. So if you didn't get to apply for your work permit or your adjustment of status, this will allow you to go on kind of a wait list and wait for them to make a decision on your case. But in the meantime, you would be able to get the work permit. So that is where you would get the work permit after applying. And then after you get the work permit, then, if a decision comes, you'll get a decision on it. And if the decision is approved, the next step is to actually go to the green card interview and that's where you would know whether you're finally approved for the green card. So there are multiple steps, and it is a complex application process. So if you feel like you qualify for this, you would definitely want to make sure that you get legal assistance to apply. So I'm going to put my number in the comments, and you can go ahead and write that number down. My number is also plastered all over the videos, so you can check out one or two of the videos, and I'm positive that you will be able to get my phone number and call. If you don't want to call, you can also complete the web form on the website, and that will allow us to call you. So when you call that number, you're going to get, at this time, if you call right now, you're going to get the after hours receptionist who will take your information, and then on the next business day, which would be tomorrow, for example, the scheduling coordinator would give you a call and put you on my schedule to do a personal consultation for